Hello and welcome to Tech and Sports Podcast. Tech and Sports is a show about how technology is revolutionizing all the major sports as well as health and fitness. You can find this episode from your podcast service of choice. Hello everyone, I'm Paul Dunning-Gletto, the editor of Tech and Sports, and with me today is Mandy Kovacs, aka the Carlton Kid.
Hello.
The Big Radu is also with me, Alex Radu.
What's up?
Collectively, we are your third stringers, and we have a very special in-studio guest for this podcast, Jeff Volpe, the president of Viewsonic, one of the leading digital display vendors in the business. Jeff brings a unique perspective as he was a professional football player and, I believe, a Hall of Fame safety for the University of Guelph Golden Griffins.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So we got a power pack lineup. We're going to start with the most high-tech World Series ever. We're also going to move into electronic payments at sporting events and how digital displays are helping a football program here in Canada. In our debate section, we're going to look to the CFL playoffs, plus incredibly hard trivia and more. So sit back and don't panic because the third stringers are coming into the game. So, Jeff, we like to make you our honorary third stringer, even though you probably never played third string in your life.
No comment.
Yes, okay, but it's great having you here because you bring this unique perspective because you play for the Edmonton Eskimos and you run a tech vendor, and you recently equipped the University of Guelph Golden Griffins football team with Viewsonic product, and we're going to get into that later, but right now we'll go to the news headlines. Take it away, Mandy.
Yeah, it's news time. So first of all, I want to give a quick congratulations to the Houston Astros on winning the 2017 World Series last week.
Boo.
Hey.
Boo too.
They deserve
Since
it.
I'm from LA area. So.
All right, I'm in the minority here today. Well, we've talked about before how this was the most high-tech World Series ever, and I wanted to mention another fun fact because this matchup also pitted the team with the largest analytics department, the Dodgers, against the team most aggressively using analytics to up its game, the Astros in the MLB. So the Dodgers have a 48-person baseball operations team, where 13 of them are analysts and another 8 are data researchers. So to put this in perspective, the LA Angels, who Alex is kind of a fan of, they only list 8 people on their executive team and only 1 baseball operations person, period. So, I mean, to have 13 and another 8 researchers, that's pretty crazy. But the Astros are where the analytics really shine. Their GM, Jeff Volpe, is a huge analytics guy, and he hired a director of decision sciences that was a former NASA employee, as well as a PitchFX engineer, and basically used analytics to tank the team a few years ago for a couple good draft picks, and I mean, now look at them. Their plan was so great that Sports Illustrated actually predicted back in the 2014 cover story that the Astros would be the World Series champions. We've all seen that on social media, I think, over the last couple days, which is a crazy prediction. Someone probably should have bet on that. So, I mean, does that really answer our question of whether analytics work or not?
Well, analytics definitely do work, but I think it's terrible that, they decided to tank seasons. I mean, can you imagine, tanking your product for your customers? It's unimaginable.
What a giant risk,
It's a huge risk.
So they obviously had some faith in what they were seeing.
Yeah.
The analytics work, apparently. At least in baseball.
Yeah, you look at the Tour de France, there was one of the teams that won a stage and they were one of the poorer teams, but they were the Moneyball team, right? So they figured out how to win in the mountain stages. So, no, data analytics absolutely works.
All right, moving on. We have news that Intel has signed a multi-year partnership with Turner Sports to provide live virtual reality game action content for the NBA on games broadcasted with TNT, which basically equivocates to about 1 game a week. So this partnership will kick in next year, starting with the NBA All-Star Game in February, and fans will be able to access all the VR action through the TNT VR app, which has yet to be launched yet. And they can use Samsung Gear VR and Google Daydream headsets for this. Basically, they'll be able to choose whether they want virtual courtside seats or up in the stands for a bird's eye view, as well as multiple camera angles. And interestingly about this, Intel is also partnering with the NBA to become an authorized provider of VR and 360-degree video for broadcasts globally. And it hopes to eventually implement an experience where fans can freeze a moment of the game and view it from the player's point of view as if they were on the court. So, I mean, you guys are pretty big basketball fans. Would you use this? Would you like that?
Well, I mean, from a football perspective, I mean, I saw the VR from the quarterback view, and I thought that was pretty special. Have you gotten a chance to see anything through a VR, Jeff?
I have seen the perspective of the quarterback. I've seen the view of a driver and an Indy car and those kinds of elements where you're seeing the perspective of the athlete, and I find that is an incredible, interesting element. However, I feel like I lose if I'm in that sort of situation too long. I'm losing the game. I'm losing the sense of being immersed in the whole environment of the game. I'm not seeing the whole game.
Right.
So I kind of like where they are able to mix and match that. So I would say that it would be an interesting thing for me to see and use, but I wouldn't use it for an entire quarter or period, depending on what sport you're watching. I'd like to go snap in and out.
So basically augmenting your experience as opposed to taking it over.
And isn't that the essence of technology, right?
Yeah.
It's augmenting everything that we do and see.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially with the ref cams in the NHL right now, too, you can never watch a whole game from that point of view. You would get sick and probably puke everywhere.
Yeah,
but like for a couple minutes, that's cool to see it from that point of view, right?
That's why not everybody's a referee.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, moving on, we have news from the English Football League where Barry FC has signed a new partnership with a payment technology company called Tapit to make its Energy Check Stadium the first cashless soccer stadium in the UK. Fans will be able to buy a prepaid Tapit loyalty card, which can then be used to pay for things like food and drinks and club merchandise all around the stadium during game days. So the football club is doing this to cut down on queuing time for fans, and there will be top-up stations around the stadium, so they never actually have to take out cash. Tapit is also going to be tracking the spending habits of fans and tailor offers to them in the future, which I feel like is always a side effect of data like this. And so with cash already going the way of the dodo, do you see this happening in North America?
I love it because if I can just tap and go, I go back to the game, which is what I'm really interested in watching. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
As someone who almost refuses to use cash, I love this.
You millennial.
I know. Cash is just so unnecessary now, and you can just tap everything. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And continuing with English football, we've covered the pros and cons of video replay a few episodes ago, and now video assistant referee technology will be used for the first time ever in an official game in the UK during England's friendly match against Germany at Wembley Stadium on November 10th. So this video replay technology was successfully tested at a charity match at Wembley last month after a 2-year trial of the system was approved by the International Football Association Board last year. However, the association board has made it clear that the technology can only be used to review incidents relating to goals, red cards, mistaken identities, and penalties, and it can only correct clear errors and be used for serious missed incidents in match-changing situations.
Mistaken identity in soccer. Wow.
I don't know.
I don't know that one either.
I don't know.
Jeff, I want to ask you, you have curved screen technology. Does this at all apply to replays?
Well, any display that we would produce that would be able to be in a control room would be certainly of assistance. I think curved displays would assist them in seeing the greater size of it. I think resolution is the key, though. All the video replays I'm seeing, it's about the clarity of the incident. Everything from a fumble to, did somebody step in bounds? Did the player go offside? These are incidences that require a lot of clarity and frame. So high refresh rates and frame capture is really the critical component. I do like the idea of what the video replay offers. But I don't like the way, some of the games have been slowed so dramatically. You lose that sense of, what's the point? I mean, what we're trying to do is major infractions. So I do like what the NHL's done and what the NFL's done. And they've revised their video replay and they've condensed it to certain items. I think the Football English League is doing the right job in constricting what they're going to use video replay for. I love the mistaken identity. I don't know how that happens, but that's a good one.
Yeah, we had a conversation a few weeks ago where the MLB is doing, if you can't decide if this was the wrong call within 120 seconds, just you keep the call on the field.
Well,
Yeah,
potentially, yeah.
And I think 2 minutes is all you need, because if you need more than 2 minutes to decide if something was wrong, then let's just keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a valid criticism, and a lot of fans are already saying that it slowed down the game too much after they trialed it in the Germany's Bundesliga last month. And there was also more controversy because apparently the head of this video replay technology, his name is Helmut Krug, which is amazing, yeah. Apparently he was accused of being biased towards the team he supports with these video reviews. And I mean, we've never really had that come up in North American sports, but I wonder if that's ever actually been a problem behind the scenes. That's kind of something maybe we'll look at later.
Only in soccer.
The most corrupt sport in the world.
Especially against Italy in the World Cup. Anyways, I digress.
Your bias is showing, Paolo.
Yes, a little bit. Let's move on.
All right, and last but not least, Uber has teamed up with digital media company Uninterrupted to launch a national TV ad campaign that features ESPN's Carrie Champion as an Uber driver taking NBA figures around in a vehicle as they answer questions about their game, their lives, and everything in between. Alex will be happy because the first 3-minute episode that's available now features Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma from the LA Lakers.
Yeah, the future. Yeah, no.
Would you watch this, Alex?
I watched it a week ago.
Of course you did.
No, I think it's cool. Jeff, I have a question for you based on this. Technology companies teaming up with athletes. Do you see this huge benefit of informing an audience that doesn't usually know about this type of technology, but using an athlete or like LeBron or Alonzo to do it?
Oh, I think this is an extension of what athletes have been used for advertising and you know the many decades, right? So using an athlete to propagate a new piece of technology is a great idea. You know, certainly some of the stories will be interesting. How they carry themselves ought to be part of their PR training, I'm sure. But no doubt it's a great way to show what technology can do and leveraging athletes. And I think people aspire to listen and to see how they live and what they do and what they choose to like and not like. I think it'll be great.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, well, that's it for this week's news. But since we do have the president of Viewsonic here with us, let's talk about what you've done at the University of Guelph with their athletic program.
For sure.
So Jeff, you're a Hall of Famer from the Griffins football program. How did Viewsonic work with them to provide the right outcome? What were they looking for?
You know, I was really fortunate to have attended the school, and we had a lot of success when I played there. And one of the benefits that I get from that is I get to come back and participate in homecoming and other events that the school puts on. And as Stuart Lang took over the head coaching position many years ago for the Griffins, he was determined to create a much better environment for building a team and building tradition, and one of those was wrapped around technology. He's a pretty progressive thinker, and we got talking one day because he knows what I did and what I do for a living, and we talked a little bit about how that might be able to help in their facility currently, and he had a vision to build a new facility. In this new facility, he wanted to make it state-of-the-art. And, you know, in a team environment, collaboration is a really important thing. You need to collaborate, you need to get everybody on the same page, and you need to, in football at least, you need to dissect every single play and look at every individual in the play and analyze and overanalyze and make sure that those things stick into the kids and the coach's brains so that when that situation occurs on the field, it becomes instantaneous and it requires repetition and graphical teaching. So we took our interactive displays, our projectors, and we reviewed all of the various places in which they were going to create this group environment within this new facility. And it was a perfect marriage of what they wanted to try to accomplish with what we see as a trend in technology, which is this collaborative environment, whether it be a workspace in the office, whether it be a classroom, or in this particular case, a team. Other teams in the NFL and NBA and NHL and even in the a lot of college ranks have already started to go down this path. Having talked to a former Griffin, also Tom Dimitrov, who's a general manager for Atlanta, we Atlanta Falcons, we sort of came to this conclusion this would be a perfect thing for Guelph, and we would utilize Viewsonic's open systems interactive displays to take the software that they were using and now make it interactive, now make it for the coaches to be able to coach, annotate on the screen, have the player go up and annotate on the screen, and really get a sense of, okay, this is what I'm going to do in this situation, this is what I'm going to do in that situation, real time, graphically, overlaying video, overlaying a pencil drawing, if you will, so they really can retain and talk and learn and collaborate as individuals. Much like what's happening in the workspace, the sporting environment is breaking up into smaller groups. 30 years ago, we'd watch film as an entire team. And now they break up into separate groups, and they'll have the defensive backs and the offensive team and the quarterback team and the running backs. They'll all separate out, and they will take these little vignettes of what they're doing and how it relates back, and then as a team that comes together, much more effective, much more real time, and it really sticks in their memories a lot better because it's graphical and they're really associated with themselves because there's so much going on the field at the same time. They need to see their space and what they're looking at from their perspective. And Stuart, to his credit, he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And he created this facility. He created this learning environment, all surrounded with technology. And Viewsonic was, obviously, we had a foot in the door, having been a past player there, but our technology was perfect for the environment. So throughout the new facility, there's our projectors and our interactive displays. We have some 75-inch, some 85-inch that are throughout the organization, and we think this is a wonderful case study for teams of all sorts of disciplines to leverage. We actually took this interactive workspace concept and we really pushed it into education, and this has helped us, bring this sort of environment to group learning. And group learning in education is not new, but now we do it with technology, where it used to be sort of a pencil and paper. Now you're doing it with a screen, which it's just much better because you can communicate everything, all the dialogue that went on screen, you can communicate it immediately to everybody's individual device. They can take it home with them and learn and continue. So we were pleased to install this, and it's part of a whole technology and sport thing that's happening in sport. We talked a little bit earlier as we were prepping for this about the one part about it is the coaching and the learning and the interactivity, and the other thing about it is how technology is incorporated into training and recovery and all this kind of stuff. And it's a significant element, putting G sensors in helmets for concussion protocols and making sure that the players are healthy and not dehydrated. I mean, it's incredible stuff. And this is just another layer of how technology is making sports more entertaining and making athletes better at what they do.
Have you seen any did this help Guelph with future athletes? Now when, they're trying to recruit students to come to the school from high school, do they then show off this war room of technology?
Without question. That is, I think that's almost like a planned question, I would say, because this new facility is impressive, and it is world class certainly for the Canadian college ranks. This is a serious facility. It's a facility for alumni. So not only recruiting new potential players, but also getting people who have been part of the organization that can either contribute financially or otherwise to building a tradition. Certainly in the football ranks and quite frankly any team sport ranks, having a tradition is a big part of what builds a fan base and what builds sort of a belonging. So it's for sure being a recruiting asset. I already know that this is happening, having talked to the head coach last night, that he's recruiting today as we speak, and he'll be using the facility as an asset.
Awesome.
Well, speaking of that, in comparison to other schools, does this put the University of Guelph ahead of them? Or where does it stand, with this new facility and all the state-of-the-art equipment?
I would say it is ahead. but I have not seen every particular college recently,
Right.
to be honest with you, living south of the border. But I do know that this facility is really a state-of-the-art facility, and the amount of money that's gone into this that was privately funded was a unique scenario that a lot of colleges, I'm sure across the country, wish they had access to.
Absolutely.
Jeff, we've talked about the big trend in big data for teams. I think one of the things that get lost is how that data is properly displayed to decision makers and, as you said, in an educational standpoint.
Sure.
How does the Viewsonic sort of like work with the analytics that the team is capturing to properly display that to the stakeholders?
Well, I would love to do more. How we are really trying to do this is bring a device that is able to interact with other devices first and foremost, so we can facilitate, bring your own device kind of environments,
Exactly.
and also to be able to, with a slot-in PC on the back, be able to install a variety of different software programs that different kinds of sports would use. So, we talked a little bit about cycling before, and that, the data heavy amount that's involved in cycling is incredible.
It is.
And it's real time. And to be able to migrate the software into the device simply and easily is really what we're trying to accomplish. So we've worked with a number of different software companies for education, for corporate, so that we're a sort of a hub for a seamless connectivity to and from. And obviously, displaying the data is first and foremost. So
Right.
4K multi-touch that's the standard issue of a monitor and a display company. But the interoperability with other software is critical. The big data reality of sport now is I think it's just beginning. I mean, the data points that you can get of an athlete in any form is incredible. To know how much weight they've lost, when they lost it, their acceleration and deceleration on the field, and how much recovery time they need to display all of that stuff and real time across a roster of 50 guys is incredible.
How does this compare, because you mentioned the Atlanta Falcons, how does this facility out at University of Guelph compare to some of these like hardcore professional like teams with millions and millions and millions of dollars at their disposal?
There's certainly some envy there, I imagine, with some of the people who were designing this facility to be like Alabama or to be like the Falcons or any pro team. But I will tell you, this thing rivals that technology use, and it may not be as big, it may not be as vast, but it is an incredible real-time, state-of-the-art facility that gives the athletes every opportunity to be at the cutting edge of technology as it relates to learning about their sport and learning about their fitness and their prep.
Well, I'm going to be at the University of Guelph tomorrow with Jeff to do a special video case study on that. So look forward to please tune in to see that on Tech and Sports coming soon. But let's go to our debate, which is on the CFL playoffs. Before we do, we have incredibly hard trivia. And Jeff, because you're a member of the Edmonton Eskimos, I thought it'd be proper to have a Eskimos-themed question. So here it is, guys. Which Edmonton Eskimo quarterback became the premier of the province of Alberta in 1985?
Well,
No idea.
I have no idea, but I also grew up in the United States, so I could not name you one Alberta premier in history.
So you were at a disadvantage, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I thought we could do the game of distillation down. So it can't be Warren Moon because he went down to the Oilers in '85.
That's right.
That's not it. It's not Matt Dunnigan. He was playing at the time.
That's right.
Damon Allen came in '86, so it's not him.
No.
Any
Fact-
clues? Any clues? 'Cause
fact-
I
fact-
went to Edmonton in '86, so it was before my time even. So
Well, see,
You know.
that was my number one clue. It's not Warren Moon or Matt Dunnigan.
Really
But
helpful.
he was the quarterback who won the 1956 Grey Cup, and he's one of 3 Canadian-born quarterbacks who have at least one record in the CFL. Why don't we move on to the
Awesome.
playoffs?
We're going to Google it. We're going to
You're going to Google it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to tell us the answer, aren't you?
Yes, right
Eventually.
at the end.
Good at the end.
He likes to tease us.
We'll do one more clue at the end and see if anybody can get it.
I think it would be unfair for me to answer, don't you?
Why?
We're relying on you to get it, though.
I'm just being nice.
Okay, let's talk 3-down football. It's funny to me how competitive the CFL is with 9 teams. It took basically the entire season to finally set the stage for the playoffs, and that's given that the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the team I loathe the most, started 0-8. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have their first home playoff date since 2011. Their opponent is your old team, Jeff, the Edmonton Eskimos. Saskatchewan Roughriders, they're doing the crossover game. We'll play the defending Grey Cup champs, the Ottawa Redblacks, while my favorite team, the Toronto Argonauts, will have a bye along with the Calgary Stampeders. So, guys, who is going to win the Grey Cup? Let's look at the data and see what we get out of it. So, who wants to start?
I can start. Okay, so I looked at, because I always, I guess, do the simulations that I find online for all these. So the CFL actually simulated the playoffs themselves. So the model they used considers the following. Each team's current win-loss record, opponents already played, including whether it was at home or it was a home or away game, the margin of victory or loss in games previously played in the season, remaining opponents to be played, including whether those games are at home or away, and then most recent results. Recent win is weighed more heavily than a win back in week 1, for example. So this model calculates each team's probability of victory in each remaining game. It then simulates 10,000 replications of the remaining regular season schedule. So the first place team in each division is the one with the most regular season wins, obviously. So for each replication, the model keeps track of which team finished first. So if Winnipeg finished first in the West Division in 1,990 of those 10,000 replications, then its first place probability is 1,990 out of 10,000, or 19.9%. So it's an intense model.
That's why you need proper digital displays to graphically learn that.
See that. I need to see that. Picture that for me.
Exactly. Yeah,
A visual person.
So, anyways, after this, the simulation's updated weekly, so it then goes into the Stampeders are the clear-cut favorite with a 45% chance to win the Grey Cup right now, which is kind of.
So are you picking the Stamps?
Well, here, let me get. Oh, sure, right. Yeah, sure. I guess I'll pick them. The next best is then Saskatchewan at 19%, followed by Ottawa and Toronto at 16 and 10% respectively. But then they also did stuff like the most likely matches to happen. So the most likely match is a rematch of last year's overtime classic between Calgary and Ottawa.
What?
And it's the most likely one at 31%, followed by Calgary versus Toronto at 28%. I guess I will pick the Stampeders, but I do want Toronto to win just because the Argos used to practice at my college. So,
very nice.
There we go.
I'm about it.
Mandy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to base my pick solely on the quarterback because, I mean, let's face it, the CFL is a quarterback-driven league, and the top 3 signal callers are Bo Levi-Mitchell, Mike Riley, and Jonathan Jennings. Jennings with the BC Lions did not make the playoffs, and Riley has a long road just to get to the Grey Cup, but hey, Bo Levi-Mitchell is there, and realistically, he should be in the NFL. I mean, he's only 27 years old. He already has a Grey Cup ring, a Grey Cup MVP, and now after guiding his team to a 15-2-1 regular season, as well as the most outstanding player honor next to his name, I feel like he's going to lead the Calgary Stampeders to a win. I mean, he only has 6 losses and 2 ties as a blemish on his record. So if we're basing it on quarterbacks and their skills, Calgary all the way. Although that hurts my Toronto soul a little bit to say that.
All right, Jeff, you want to weigh in on this, or do you want me to go first?
I'm going to let you go.
All right,
let you go, and I'll summarize.
All right. So Toronto and Calgary have first round byes. I look at streaks. Edmonton has a 5-game winning streak, while the Bombers backed into the playoffs. So I see the Eskimos winning that game. And I think the crossover team historically has lost. So I see the Red Blacks winning. But, sometimes you just got to throw away that data and just go with your heart. So I'm picking the Toronto Argonauts to upset the Stamps and bring home the Grey Cup where it rightfully belongs, in Toronto.
I feel like that just ended the same way our NHL predictions did.
Yeah,
We just really like Toronto.
Where you both picked the Maple Leafs.
Even though the chances of that happening. Oh, wow.
Gosh.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I don't know exactly all the data analytics that you can really dispute that, but one piece that I think is important is this emotional piece. And when you have a streak of 5 wins, which I did notice when I was checking up on the stats, when you have a 5-winning streak and you're within an organization that knows how to win,
City of Champions, I believe, right?
I have a real inclination to say that Edmonton has a really good shot to surprise some people. I do think up in Ottawa, it would be great to see the Red Blacks, get in there and play in their hometown. We'll see. But I would say probably Edmonton's going to be tough to beat, knowing how that organization knows how to win. And by the way, you know that having played for Edmonton, I cannot say Calgary.
All right, great. So we're going to review that, see who was right in the next few weeks. And I want to really thank Jeff. Thanks a lot for joining us on the podcast. I think you provided tremendous insight. Thanks a lot. Hopefully we can do this again, maybe when the Tour de France starts up later on this year.
I'd love to be back. Thanks for having me.
So where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Jeff Volpe, or you can find Viewsonic at Viewsonic. So
let's get to the trivia answer. Do you want to take a wild guess?
Well, I know the answer, but,
You know the answer?
I know the answer. So I think it's Don, yes?
Don Getty, that's right. Don Getty, very good.
Never would have got that.
No.
I could have maybe guessed Don just based off of famous Dons and Canadian
the Canadian QB gave it away.
Don Jerry? He passed away 2016, by the way. So, but he had an amazing career. Mandy, where do we find you?
Mandy V. Kovacs.
And I'm at Paulo CDN. And thanks. Please tune into more tech and sports content on itbusiness.ca's sports section. And I would be remiss if we didn't send along our best wishes to the family of Roy Halladay. We're all Blue Jays fans here. And it was such a tragic loss. The Doc has passed away. Maybe the greatest pitcher in Blue Jay history. He will be missed. So again, thank you, Jeff Volpe. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paulo Delmigleto for Tech and Sports.